Hi, this is Bob from Hobby Concepts, and today I'm back with some of my most requested videos, and that's going to be a Beier SFR-1 full installation. I get requests all the time for more videos on the SFR-1 and the USM. So in this video I'm going to show how to use SBUS to hook up the SFR-1. I'm going to completely install it in a truck. This truck has over 50 LEDs in it. It's got LEDs in the bumper. It's got interior lights. I hook up servos, all kinds of special functions, music, 6 different horn effects. So I'm going to go completely through it and show you how to hook it up in your truck. This will be a video you want to watch really closely and not miss anything. This truck is gorgeous. It has interior lights and dash lights. It even has a full interior with a bunk with a pillow and a mini Winston in there. It's very cool. I'm sorry it took so long to do this video, but I wanted to do a really beautiful truck and kind of showcase the SFR-1. So this will be worth watching. At the end I'll show all the functions. Let's get started. So as I get started, a quick review of the SFR-1 system. So this is the SFR-1. It's a board that has a speed control, a sound control, and a light control all built into one nice little board. It's small. It has battery cables for your battery, outputs for your motor, a couple of servo inputs or receiver inputs. It comes with this ribbon cable to hook up lights, and this gives you 8 different outputs. You can add a second cable to get up to 16 different outputs, which we will be doing in this build. In order to use this, you need to have software that goes on your computer and downloads to the little SD card that's in the unit. Now you can just unplug that and plug it in your computer using the software to program it, or you can get an optional data cable that plugs into the USB port on your computer and plugs in the SFR-1 and updates it on the fly. We're going to use this a lot. Obviously the software we'll use. You need some kind of a speaker. It comes with the speaker wire, but not a speaker. So I typically use these little speakers and speaker boxes, which we're going to use. You can also use a volume control and an on-off switch with it. I am not going to use those in this build because I'll be using the volume control from the radio. Now you can also get this as a package that comes with the SFR-1, the speaker box, the speaker, the software, the switches, some LEDs, kind of everything you need to get started package. And so I'll put a link for that in the description. So this is basically where we start. The software on the laptop is important, and we're going to see how that works. So we'll start off with wiring, and I'll kind of go through one step at a time, and we'll do this thing. Okay, so in the real world of wiring for the SFR, it's positive, basically positive ground, and the LEDs that I use are color-coded positive. So that means I have to hook all the positive leads together, and then I'm going to be left with a bunch of black leads. So I'm going to combine those at the back of the truck and then solder in a colored lead going forward so I know what lights are what. The nice thing about this is I'll only have to run, for example, one wire forward that'll be all the positives for both the bumper and all these glow lights. And then I'll have one wire for the backup lights, one wire for the tail lights, one wire for the 2 marker lights, and one wire each for the 2 turn signals. So it won't be as many wires to run forward. I'm going to go ahead and wire some of this up, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So in practice, here's what this looks like. So I've got all the black, which would be the negative leads, coming out, and then hooked into one wire that's going forward, and this is a white wire, and that happens to be my backup lights. You can see I made a little sheet here because after I wire the truck I want to remember how everything worked. So all my colored leads, every single one of them, are together in what would be a common, and that's the black lead. And you'll notice that all these leads are long enough to reach up to the front, except the black lead. And it doesn't need to reach to the front, because what's going to happen is it's going to be common together with all these glow lights. So by the time I get up to the front, there'll only be one wire. And so then there's my green and my red and my yellow and all my lights. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to string these out, put them together, and throw little pieces of shrink tube over them to make a nice wiring loom that'll make it easier to pull it forward. And as soon as my paint dries on these bumper covers, I'll get those mounted and then mount this rear bumper and pull all this wiring forward. So that's the basics of it, is getting those wires organized and then keeping a list so you know what everything looks like. And it is very helpful to have several different colors of wire. You can also put a piece of tape on the end and mark what they are. But these ones from the back, it's much easier if they don't have tape on them to pull them through all the parts of the truck. So I'll go ahead and tie those up and put them on. As I continue with the wiring for the SFR, so you can see I pulled, these are all the wires from the back bumper. And again, my color codes here. And then I've got the underglow lights here. And I made notes on my pad for those. So this black wire is now the common for every single light that's back here. This blue wire is the underglow lights, and then these colored wires will be my bumper lights. So I pulled everything up. I've held the strings together with pieces of shrink tubing, trying to keep this super neat. So then this will go up into the cab. Now I've got some bumper lights down here that I'm going to do next, and I'll pull those up through the cab. And then all the other lights will be basically in the cab. I started that. You can see I'm working on the dash here. I'm going to have it illuminated, and I pulled a white wire for the dash lights, and then these will be the commons here, which I haven't extended yet, but I'll do that once I put the cab together. And you can see I've got dash lights white. So slowly kind of thinking about the cab lights. I'm going to probably put some flashing lights behind the grill and a couple other things. But I just want to show you how I get the wiring done. It's real important to keep track of this, because you'll have a lot of lights by the time you get ready to hook this up. As I move along on the SFR mounting, I did this front bumper that has 22 lights. You can see that I wired all the blacks together, which would be the grounds, and then wired those into a red wire, and all the orange, which would be the positives, are wired into the common wire, which is black. So now I have the bumper on my list red. I'll go ahead and mount that, pull all the wiring up through here, and then all the wiring is done in the chassis. So we'll hook that to the SFR and see how it all works. So I've got my my deck plate mounted, pulled the wires up through here, and now I always do this all along the way, but I just want to reinforce it here. I always test everything along the way. So this is our red wire. Our common wire is hooked to positive here because the SFR is positive ground. So when I touch this one, I should get my front bumper lights, and I do. And the blue one will be my underglow lights. And I don't know how good you can see them, but they're coming on. And then these are the lights from the rear bumper, and I tested all those, and they all work good. Left turn, right turn, backup lights, tail lights, etc., etc. So I've got everything tested, so now I'm ready to start actually playing with the SFR. Now the lights in the body will have the turn signals up here, the cab roof lights, the rear lights, the dash lights, the interior lights. I'll wire those all into a little plug and plug those into the SFR, and I'm going to do that in a little bit later. Right now I want to go through the SFR setup with just all the lights in the chassis. So now it's time for me to actually start installing the SFR-1. I've done a couple of quick things. One is I put some Tamiya connectors on the end of the motor wires, And the other thing is I soldered the speaker wire onto the speaker and mounted it in this box. I'm going to probably mount it up underneath the top of the cab with double stick tape. So the way this mounts is we have a little wiring harness that comes with it, and I don't know where, oh, right here, this little devil, and this plugs in right here. If you've watched my videos, you've seen this. And then this will be wiring to our wiring harness in the truck, depending on the color codes that I want to use. Now, for purposes of setup, I'm going to use this AKL8, which has this this neat little board so you can plug and unplug wires. Plugs in the same way. Basically sets it up so I can test my wiring and my programming as I go. So I'm going to go ahead and get my laptop out and a battery out, and we'll fire this thing up and start showing you how to program it. Oh, also, I'm going to use this Radio Link AT10-2 radio, and I'm going to use an SBUS hookup, and that means I'll only really need to run one cable from the receiver to the Beier SFR-1, and I'm going to show you how to set that up on an SBUS. So we'll get to work on this. So as I get into setting up the SFR-1, I basically have my unit right here. I have it plugged into my laptop with the data cable. I have the speaker plugged in. I plugged in a steering servo just for testing purposes. It has that AKL8 plugged in, but nothing's hooked up. And then I have a battery, and I connected a little adapter so I could use a standard battery here. So I can plug this in, and we'll get some lights come on in this. And then my laptop set up with the software. Now, we're going to use SBUS today. And the trick about SBUS is you only need to connect one cable from the receiver to the SFR-1. You don't need to use these, you don't need to use any other cables. And it connects in, there's a grouping of 4 here, and it connects in the last spot. So we're going to connect it. And every radio is a little bit different on how they activate their SBUS. Okay. On Radio Link, you don't actually do anything on the transmitter. You just push a small button on the side here until the light turns blue or purple. And that means the SBUS is activated. So the SFR powers the receiver. That's the only cable we need to connect, and when we get the SBUS set up, we'll have 12 channels available, all 12 channels from this receiver. It's pretty slick. So what I'm going to do now is, and you can see I've got my radio here, and I wiped the memory on the radio to start fresh, so it's ready to go. So now I'm going to focus in on the software and the SFR-1 sound teacher, and we'll take a look at that, and we'll get a program downloaded into this and get started. So I've got my sound teacher software up here, and I'm going to go up and I'm going to click File up here, and I'm going to click Create New Project. I don't want to save any changes in the one that's there. It blanks out the screen. So we'll go File, Open Project. Now I've got here all the Beier files that they give you, and there's just a ton of them. Trucks, tractors, all kinds of stuff. And we're going to go with the Detroit Diesel. Sorry, that's the one I was looking for. So we're going to click Detroit Diesel and click Open, and then we're going to load it. Now that dumps this whole thing into the sound teacher. Then I'm going to run down here and click Transfer Project Data. Now that'll take a minute, depending on how empty the card is on the SFR-1. So we'll let that load up, and then we'll go to work on actually configuring this unit. Okay, this is done loading. So now we have to set up the configuration for the way we want to use it with this Radio Link radio. So we'll go to the configuration tab. We're going to go to General to start with. And steering servo's on channel 2. And so that's fine. We're going to leave that there. We're going to go over here to the SBUS tab. And we're going to click Activate SBUS. And just for the fun of it, we're going to go ahead right after we click that, transfer the project data. And now the SBUS is set up so the system will talk to the receiver with just that one cable. Pretty slick. And it'll only take a few seconds to update that. We're not updating every sound. So now we have to set prop 1 and prop 2. If we go back here to General, steering is on prop 2. Okay? So go to the SBUS, and that's going to be channel 1 on the radio, and prop 1 is always the throttle, which will be channel 3. Okay, so this is channel 3 right here, and this is channel 1. And that's the way we're going to set this up. So that's pretty straightforward. Now, the unit will turn on and activate, but there's a couple things we want to do first. One of them, we're going to go to the engine sound, and we're going to turn on the engine sound automatically by motion. If you've seen me do this before, that way we don't need any other sticks to do it. We're going to turn off the fast switching for the engine sound because the Detroit diesel doesn't like the fast switching. If you set up a sound and it doesn't work, you move the throttle and nothing really happens, turn that off. Okay, so we're going to do that. Then we're going to set up another SBUS channel, and this is pretty tricky. We're going to pick prop 6, and we're going to put channel 6 on prop 6. Now, props and channels are completely separate. You could put any prop on any channel, but just for ease sake, I'm going to put that on channel 6. Then I'm going to go back here to the General tab, and I'm going to click Direct Volume Control on prop 6. So what that'll do is that will mean prop 6, which is channel 6 on the receiver, will give me a volume control. Now I have to go to the radio. Alright, I'm going to go to the menu, and I'm going to go over here to aux channels. Enter. Now channel 6 is VRA, which is this knob right here, which is perfect. So I'm just going to leave it there, and we're going to go ahead and transfer this project data over to the unit, and that shouldn't take very long to transfer. And once it's transferred over, we should be able to fire it up. So I'm going to go back to an expanded view. We'll wait for this to come up here. Just look at one other little thing, and that's the engine sound. Right now they've got the engine sound with a shift in it, where we've got a sound and then a shift and then another sound that starts over. So we'll see what that sounds like when we get the unit running. Okay, be back in a second. So here we are back with the SFR-1. Our data was transferred over. I haven't changed any plugs. I got the speaker plugged in, I have a steering servo plugged in, and I have the one cable from the receiver to the SFR-1. So the way I have this set is it'll start with just a flick of the throttle. Okay, and my volume works perfectly. Okay, so I've got, you heard that kind of shift sound in the forward motion, and you heard the backing beeper and the flashers when I go in reverse. So I want to adjust those. So let's take a listen. Whoop, gotta start it up again. Okay. I have it set to shut off after 10 seconds. Let it start here. So you heard that sound. It just doesn't sound right the way it shifts into second gear. And the backing beeper is a little loud. So we're going to adjust those two things just to show you how to adjust the sounds. We'll go back to the computer. Okay, back to the computer. We're going to go back to the general tab here as a good place to start. Actually, we'll go to the engine sound. So we've got a idle vehicle engine stop. Reverse warning sound is right here. Now you do have to kind of get used to some German names. Thank goodness for Google Translate. Well, we want to lower that backing beeper in relation to everything else. So we're going to go over here. We're going to follow it across. Reverse warning. It's this one right here. And over in this tab, see where it says 100%. We're going to change that to 50%. So that'll reduce the backing beeper sound in relation to the other sounds. We're going to go back to the configuration tab. We're going to go to the engine sound. Now this is the engine sound, and you can see how when I pushed it forward the sound went up and then it dropped down and restarted. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to raise this one and raise this one so we don't go all the way back to idle for second gear, and then raise that. Now these are completely adjustable, super easy. So now we're going to transfer project data, and then we can see what it sounds like. And the neat thing about this is you can just play with it. You can kind of move those around until you get the sound you want. I saw a comment on Facebook where somebody said they didn't like the forward sound. Well, if you don't like it, change it. It's super easy, and you can put, well, this is 2 forward gears. We could easily, let's let this finish transferring, but we could easily change it to 5 forward gears. You've got these 5 splits. So you can really have a lot of flexibility with everything you want. Now these sounds have nothing to do with the shifting. We're going to get into the shifting later. They're just strictly the forward throttle sounds. So we did transfer those. So I'll start it with my radio, and you can hear it start. We don't need to see it, you can just listen to it. Okay. That sounds much better to me. So that's how we've set up some of those sounds. Now we're going to go look at some of the other functions we need to set up. All right, so one of the things I'd like to do, instead of having the throttle stick start the engine and having it shut off after a certain number of seconds, I want to have this switch right here, which is just a little temporary switch, start the engine and stop it. That way I can start it and stop it however I want. And that is switch H. So we're going to go back to the computer screen, and we're going to set up switch H to start and stop the engine. Well, I'm back here in my configuration SBUS tab. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to prop 7, and we're going to call that channel 7, again just for ease. Then I'm going to go to my radio. I'm going to go back to the aux channels here, and then on channel 7, that's switch H. So we're just going to scroll through until we get switch H. H, okay? So now switch H is prop 7. We set it here. So now we're going to go back to our general tab. We're going to, let's see, engine sound tab. We're going to unclick turn on engine sound automatically by motion, because we don't want that to turn off. And then we're going to go to proportional channels, prop 7. Prop 7's already blank, so we're going to drop this down, and whoops, we actually want short in position. We're going to drop this down, and we're going to have over here on the right, we're going to have engine start. So engine sound on and off is the second one down. And click OK. So now, when we move the stick for a second, it'll turn the engine sound on and turn it off. So we're going to transfer project data. Just take a second here, you'll see this come up. I know I'm going through this slow, but I really wanted to show this step by step. Okay, so now engine sound starts by the switch. And stops by the switch. Much nicer than using the throttle. With the SFR-1, you can actually drive the truck without the sound on. So that is how we use the SBUS to just pick out whatever channel we want, and then the radio, we assign a switch to that channel. And we've got 12, with this receiver, we've got 12 channels to play with. So we can assign a switch to all kinds of different things. And we're going to use a bunch of the switches for like lights and maybe some additional sounds. So we're going to get into that later. But right now I want to go back to the SFR, and we're going to hook up the, let's hook up the tail lights to just kind of get those working and see what we've got there. Okay, as we prepare for lighting, I'm going to go over here to the Outputs tab. We'll just click that. And that gives us the light outputs. Okay, there's actually 16 outputs on the SFR-1. See if I can get this thing over here. There's 8 here and 8 here. So you can have 8 on one ribbon cable and 8 on another. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up, I remember been making notes, and I've got my colors. These are all the lights that are in the chassis. Now I'm going to have additional lights in the cab, like, well, I'm sorry, the dash lights aren't in the chassis. So I have 7 sets of lights in the chassis. Then I'm going to have dash lights, interior lights, cab lights, headlights, and work lights in the cab. So we'll put those on the second set of 8, including the dash. So what we need to do is we need to set this up. So we're going to set this up. We don't need headlights because they're not in the chassis, they're in the body. But we do need reversing lights, we do need tail lights and that type of thing. So we can adjust these to whatever we want. So we'll go up here to this top and we'll make that reversing light. Okay, number 2, we're going to make that one. These go up and down. We're going to make those brake light. Okay. Then we've got a left and right turn. Now this one's yellow and this one's green, so we're going to go left turn, indicator left, and indicator right. Then we've got some marker lights. This one's blue, so we're going to call that a running light. Okay, that's going to be our underglow. Then this one up here, this orange one, we'll make that a marker light for now. We can change these names. Parking light. We'll make that the front bumper lights. And let's see, the rest of these we don't need. Reversing light, brake light, parking light, left and right, daytime running lights. We don't need these to say any of that. We can just blank them just to make it cleaner looking. Okay, and then this output 1 through 8 corresponds with 1 through 8 on this AKL8, or the colors if you're just using the cable. And they're also 1 through 8. White and black here, those are our commons. They give you 2 spots for commons. And so we're going to hook up a couple lights and just kind of show you how this all fits together. But that looks good. We're going to transfer the project data. Let's see if this is turned on. It is. We'll transfer it. I always like to transfer when I make things, because if I don't and I forget and I go, it doesn't work, and it's because I didn't transfer the data. So anyway, we'll get that transferred. We're going to hook up some lights here. So I plugged in my wires. You can see I've got my black going to the common, and I plugged in the wires like we talked about. So now I've got, and the underglow lights are on. Now I've got to actually reposition this so we can see the back bumper. So I'm going to have to move some stuff around. We'll get a look at the back bumper and see what this does. This truck is really long, makes it hard to get in here. Okay, you can see that our brake lights are on. When we move the throttle forward, the brake lights will go off. Now, the brake lights are always on when the truck is stopped. That's adjustable. When we put it in reverse, the emergency flashers go on, and the brake lights go off because we're moving, and the reverse lights go on. Put it in forward, all the lights go off. When we steer it, we don't have any turn signals. Okay, so we'll go back to the software and look to see how to adjust that. Okay, let's look at adjusting the lights. So we're going to go to Outputs, and then we're going to go to the second tab. Now remember, there's our outputs with the colors. The second tab is Output Options. Okay, this is a very useful tab. So we have light effects when starting. We're not worried about that yet. Brake light always on at stationary. Okay, we have that set, and I kind of like that. So I'm going to leave that, but if you didn't want it, you just unclick it. Hazard lights automatically on when reversing. Well, again, you saw that that's on, and I like that, so I'm going to leave it. Automatic indicator lights when turning. Okay, so we're going to switch that on, switch on American style lights, and that'll give us turn signals with the steering. Now, you can also set turn signals with the steering by adding them to the prop channel, but we're not going to do that. We're going to have them automatic. I like that. We're going to go over to this side, and daytime running lights via light switch. We're going to click that because you saw that our daytime running lights, which are our underglow lights, are on all the time, but we want to switch those. So we're going to transfer the project data. We'll go back to the truck and see how that affected everything. Okay, we're back here at the truck. We still have our brake lights when we're stopped. We still have our flashers when we back up. And we still have our backup lights, of course. Now we should have our turn signals. Yep, there's our left turn and our right turn. We'll worry about sounds later. And our underglow lights are now off. So now we can assign a switch to those, and we can assign a switch to the front bumper lights. So I'm going to reposition things, and we will assign those switches. Okay, this looks a mess, but it's really not. So now I want to be able to turn on my front bumper lights and my underglow lights with a switch. And so I've decided I like this 3-position switch here. And one way will be the underglow lights on and off, and the other way will be the bumper lights on and off. And that is switch E. So on the radio, I have to go here to aux channel, and I'm going to do channel 8 as switch E. E. Yep. Okay, so we'll save that. And now we'll go back to the software. Okay, back here on the software, we're going to go to the proportional channels. And we just said prop 8 was going to be our channel. Actually, we ought to go to the SBUS first. So prop 8 is going to be channel 8. Okay, we need to do that. Then we have to go over the prop channels, and we're on prop 8. So short in position is going to be our I need to go look at what output it is. So I'll go back over here to the outputs, and the daytime running lights are output 6, and the parking lights are output 3. Okay, back to the prop channel. So output 6, and then this way is output 3. Okay, I should have written those down. So now I can save this, and what that is short in position. So when I move it and move it back, it'll turn on that channel. Do it again, it'll turn it off. Long in position, you have to hold it for 3 seconds. So we can actually use that switch to do some more lighting later. We're going to transfer the project data, and then we'll go back to the vehicle and see if that worked. Okay, back here in our truck, and sorry for my messy bench. So now, if we move the switch back and up to the middle, it turns on our lights. Do it again, it turns them off. Well, that worked good. Other direction, does the underglow lights. Do it again, turns them off. And then we can, of course, turn both of them on at the same time just by flipping the switch, or turn them both off. So that is very nice control of those lights. That gives us the basics of hooking up the chassis lights. I'm going to go ahead and do a lot more work on the truck. I want to get the body done and get the lighting installed in that and get some of that wiring run, and I'll show that as I go. And then when we get that all organized, we're going to hook up the shift servo and that coupler servo and get those operational. Okay, so I didn't actually know where I was going to be able to finish off part 1 of the SFR full install video and start on part 2. So this is where I'm going to end it. This is a picture of the finished truck just sitting here. I encourage you to watch part 2 so you can see all the special functions and how everything works. But needless to say, I think it's spectacular. The truck is beautiful. It works fantastic. So you're going to want to tune in and see part 2. Anyway, we'll leave this video here right now. Please subscribe. Please give me a thumbs up. I love the thumbs up. And questions, comments in the comment section are great. Check in the description for any links or anything like that. As I shoot this video, it's the first part of October, and I'm actually heading out of town for 3 weeks until November 2nd or 3rd. So if you order something from my website, it won't ship until after I get back, just as a heads up. Other than that, you know, we're good to go. Beier's got a brand new product coming out this month too, so keep an eye on my website for that. There you go. Don't forget, subscribe, watch part 2. It should be posted just shortly after part 1. Thanks again for watching.